Another interesting phenomena that one observes on Earth because of whose origin is again because of the rotation of the Earth is deflection of a falling object eastward from vertical. And what I mean is that what is seen is, if let us say an object, this is Earth's surface, right? There is an object here at some height, and let's take this height to be h, and it's falling down, right? We know that there is an mg acting here. So if an object is top and then it's going to fall down, then normally it simply falls down vertically down, right? This is our experience. However, what has been seen is, if this height h is rather large, right? And again, the height need not be so large that the g is not constant. We can still have like about 100 meters, 200 meters, where the acceleration to gravity is still taken as constant. So we can still apply the vertical downforce as mg. What is seen is, instead of falling at the vertically opposite point on the surface, right, the objects basically fall at some distance, let me call this y, away from that point, right, and they always go eastward, right? And this has origin in the rotation of Earth, and that because the Earth is rotating from west to east. Okay. Now what we can do is we can look at this problem from both reference frames. One is a frame fixed on Earth, so a non-inertial frame, and another one would be the one inertial frame, so in some fixed coordinate axis, and we're looking at the motion of both the Earth and the particle independently. Okay. So let us try to do that, and for that again let me first do in Earth's frame. So first I am doing this non-inertial analysis, and again what is the reason of deflection in this non-inertial frame? We did this problem last time. Origin is again the Coriolis force, right? So the particle has certain velocity. Of course, now the velocity is dependent on time because it's coming because of an acceleration. It's not going to move with a constant velocity. However, at any instant, there will be a Coriolis force because of the rotation of the Earth itself, right? And that will be perpendicular to the velocity and the axis of rotation, and that will lead to this kind of eastward deflection, right? Okay, so now let us draw our Earth and try to see this. And now what I am doing is I am drawing this. Let's say this is the equatorial plane of the Earth, right? So, and this is the center. So this is radius of the Earth. Now the axis of rotation. So this is going from so it goes from west to east. So this is the nature of rotation with increased speed omega. So axis of rotation is coming out of the board. That also means this is my north direction now coming out of the board. If this is my north direction, then this is east and this is west, and yes, the Earth is rotating from west to east, right? So that's a finding. And now let's say an object, it is at certain height h, right? We'll call it p, right, from the Earth's surface, and of course h is much less than re, right, because we still want to keep the small g constant. So h is much less than re, but in terms of drawing, I have made them so that we can see the effects bloomed up, right? So anyway, so let's say a point is here, it's going to come down, right? Okay, now let's define the coordinate system. So I'll call this then so east to west, I'll call this as y. So let me write it down as y cap, right? And this one will take as z cap. So then this becomes my x cap. Am I correct? Or no? No, sorry. So I take this as z cap, y, and then this becomes my x cap, right? Okay. So x, y, z coordinate system is that fixed. So basically my x cap is the usual way when we draw. It's x cap, which is also the omega, direction of omega. Okay. Okay, this is good. So now let's write down the Coriolis force. Coriolis force again is minus 2m omega, which is omega x cap, right, cross. So at any given instant, the force is related to this velocity, right? So to begin with, the particle is stationary, there is no coriolis force. As soon as it starts to fall down under gravity, and there is always an mg acting downwards, it will have velocity, which is now a function of time. And solving this A equal to mv equation, we can find this velocity at any time, any other instance. And the direction is in the negative z cap direction. So this becomes this 2m omega vt x cap cross z cap, right? And what is this? This is nothing but minus 2m omega vt y cap, right? Z cap cross x cap is y cap. We know from our cyclic cross product. So this is y cap, and what that means, negative y cap, what that means is the particle will have a extra force in this direction, right? So, and what is this direction? This is eastward. So the particle is going to be shifted towards the east, right? And that's what one observes when the particle lands on the ground, that there is a net eastward deflection, or I can write down this magnitude as 2m omega v eastward, right? So this is the eastward deflection that one sees here. Now, of course, this is eastward force that is there, and now from here we can find out deflection. So this eastward force can be taken as d2y over dt square, right, is equal to 2m omega v, and cancel out, and v is dependent on time, so we can also write this as 2m omega gt, right? Because what is the velocity here? The acceleration is only downwards, so the velocity, downward velocity, is basically gt. And now we can solve for y from here, right? So if we solve for, so first we can solve for dy by dt, right? And that will give us omega g t square, right? You can solve this and then put in the limits. So to begin with, velocity is 0, final velocity is dy by dt. At t equal to 0, the particle is at with v equal to 0. At some other time, this will be the velocity. And now you can integrate again to get y, right? And now y will be basically omega gt cube by 3, right? And here now it's in terms of time, but if this is the dominant force, right, or this is the only force that is actually acting on the system, right, the fall is because of that, then we can also put the value of time here, because we know that to fall h, the total time it takes is square root 2h by g. So from a stationary, from a particle with initial velocity 0, if you simply drop it and it's falling under gravity, then that's the time it takes. So we can replace this time here, and we can find out the eastward deflection, actually minus y, because in this and the other it's in the opposite direction of y cap, right? However, we have already defined that this is the eastward. So the eastward deflection y is then omega g by 3, and then 2h by g 3/2, right? Or we can also kind of simplify this and write this as 2 by 3 omega h square root 2h by g. So this is the eastward deflection of an object falling from height h because of the Coriolis force while looking from the Earth's rotational frame. And you can see that how much is the deflection. So omega for Earth is fixed. Now g is there, h is there. We can put these values, and we'll see that for normal heights like a few meters, this will be very, very small, even immeasurable compared to the size of the object and our measuring precision. But if the height is of the order of, let's say, 100 meters or 200 meters, where the acceleration of gravity, small g, can still be taken as a constant, then we do see measurable effect of this because of this phenomenon. Okay. To end let us try to do the same thing from a non-inertial frame, right? Sorry, from an inertial frame. This was the non-inertial frame. Let's try to do the same thing in the inertial frame, right? So now in the inertial frame, let me write down in inertial frame. How does the system look? So somebody, let's say in an absolute frame, looking at Earth and then an object falling under the Earth's gravity, right? What he or she will see is that again the Earth is rotating, right? So let's say it's going from west to east, right? An object which is here. So let us say before t equal to 0, or you are just holding an object. So let's say you are standing on a tower and you are holding a ball, right? So at that point of time, an independent and absolute observer with an inertial frame will see this also moving with. So let's say if you don't drop it, let's say this is my tower, right, of height h, and I'm holding it there, right? Then where the vertical down, if I suppose I would have dropped it, then the vertical down would have come to this point, where again now let's say this is the center of the Earth, so this distance is RE, so that you always have mg acting downwards. So for an inertial observer, while the particle P or object P is kept at this height, what he sees is that at any instance, this point on the surface of the Earth has a tangential velocity which is nothing but omega r. So omega re, it's moving with this tangential velocity, omega re, right? Omega is the Earth's rotation speed. A point which is kept at this height, so from the center of the Earth, it is kept at h plus re height, right? This one also has a tangential velocity which is now, let's say Vp is equal to r plus h omega, right? So the point being kept up at certain height definitely has a larger tangential velocity than this, right? However, as long as I hold it here, standing on that tower, they both have the same acceleration, so they both follow this concentric circle, right? Because the tower is also moving with the Earth, right? So there is no issue. But now suppose I drop it here, right? Then the forces on the object are mg acting toward the center, and there is no force here, but it has a velocity component r plus h omega, right? However, the point here again has this mg pulling it downward, so that doesn't change, that doesn't do anything because this point is already the surface, right? And a velocity which is omega re. So in certain time t, the time it takes for the object to fall from here to here, this point would have moved vt on the east, towards the east, and this point would have moved vp plus t, right, towards the east, and the difference of these two is then going to give us the deflection, right? Okay, so that is qualitatively. Let's try to see this quantitatively and try to see if we can come to the same conclusion, right? Now again, if Earth's surface would have been flat, right, then so for flat Earth, if Earth would have been flat, so like that this is, let's say, the surface, right? A particle is here at height h, then this point is going with Vt is equal to r omega t towards east. So this is west, this is east. This point is also going towards this with r plus h omega, right? So Vp, so Vpt is this omega, right? So this point is going here, and this point is also moving on this side. So the net deflection, by the time this point comes back here, the net deflection will be Vpt minus Vt, and that would be simply h omega t, right? If the Earth surface was absolutely flat, like it was a flat surface, such that acceleration due to gravity at any point is simply pointing downwards, right? However, that is not the case, right? We know that the surface is not flat, in fact that's a curvature. So now what happens is, this particle actually takes this kind of a trajectory, right? Because it has a acceleration to gravity downwards and a constant velocity component in this direction. Again, not a constant velocity component because v is itself dependent on this thing, but that's in a non-inertial frame. In the inertial frame, when you have dropped it from here, it has this constant velocity, right? So it goes like this, it takes this path. However, let us say it has fallen by this much height, right? Let us say it has fallen by this much height, so that it has traversed a distance y eastward direction, right? In the inertial frame. Of course, this point is also traversed some eastward distance in that same time. However, now at this location, the acceleration due to gravity is not vertically down, right? So now we are in inertial frame. So our vertical is different now, right? Now vertical is fixed. It's not always the radial outward of the from the center of the earth. Now the vertical is, now we are in this coordinate system, which is not changing, right? Other than that, the origin is fixed with the center, coinciding with the center of the earth, right? So now the vertical downward, mg is not acting vertically downwards, rather mg is acting in this direction, right? So once it has started falling, the direction of mg changes, and this change in direction of mg then gives me a vertical acceleration, which will be mg cos theta, and on a horizontal acceleration, which is mg, the force corresponding to that is mg sin theta, right? Where theta is this angle, right? So now for small angle theta, so basically you are looking at this arc, but if theta is not very large, then we can simply take the horizontal distance as the length of the arc, right? Okay, so this is the case, and now what we can do is, now we can write the equation of motion for the y deflection in the inertial frame. So in the inertial frame, that means as soon as it starts falling down, it starts developing a acceleration component, which is then g sin theta. So what we get is d2y over dt square is then basically g sin theta, right? However, it's going in the other direction. So now I am taking eastward as my positive. So the acceleration is in the other direction. So g sin theta, which for small theta I can simply approximate as y over the radius of earth. So y over r e, right? This is d2y over dt square, right? And now g, now what is y? Y is this distance, right? Which again, to a fairly good approximation, where h is not very large, we will take this as re omega t, where the t is the time, right, over re. So this then becomes minus g omega t, right? Okay, dy over dt, we have found the acceleration. Now the analysis is same, so we can find dy by dt by integrating this, right? And what this is going to give me is, this is going to give me dt square by 2 plus the constant of integration, which is the initial velocity. And what is the initial velocity? It's simply re plus h omega, right? So re plus h omega, right? Integrate again to get y, and y would be then minus g omega t cube by 6 plus re plus h omega, right? So in the inertial frame, the particle will move this distance eastward, right? However, so let me write down this yp. However, in the inertial frame, the vertically down point at t equal to 0 has also moved eastward, right? And how much it has moved? So now let's write I, the surface has also moved eastward, but how much it has moved? So the surface is moving with tensor velocity omega re. So if t is not very large, we can take the eastward movement as same as the arc length. So this will be then omega RE t, right? So the net eastward deflection, right, is yq minus this. So is y is equal to then omega ht minus, sorry, I plus omega t, omega ht minus g omega t cube by 6, right? Because RE and this will cancel out. So this is the net eastward deflection, and now we can again take P as square root of 2h by g, right? So you put this back here, and what you will get is, now you verify that you will still again get the same expression, 2 by 3 h omega square root of 2h by g. So this is the eastward deflection because of the rotation of the earth, which a falling object would undergo, right? Okay. So these are the two examples, and now looking from working forward from these effects, one can also solve another interesting, or try to understand another interesting observation, which is by French physicist Foucault. Right? So it's called Foucault's pendulum. So it's written as Foucault. I mean, if you write as a verbose English, but it's termed as Foucault, or the pronunciation is Foucault in French. So it's Foucault's pendulum, where what has been seen is that on the Earth's surface, right, if I hang a pendulum, right, which is free to swing, right, and if it's like completely free at this pivot also, so that it always maintains its plane of the swinging plane, or the plane of the swing, then what is seen is, because of the rotation of the earth, what appears is that since the pendulum is going in one plane with respect to an inertial frame, right, and since this point is completely it's not a rigid point, so the spring is free to maintain that orientation, whereas the pivot actually rotates with the earth. So basically the plane or the surface underneath this pendulum keeps rotating. In the earth's surface, in the earth's frame, what we observe is that the plane of swing or plane of oscillation of the pendulum is actually rotating, right? And it's the same thing. In the earth's frame, the pendulum at any given point will have a velocity component, right? And that velocity component cross products with the component in cross product with the angular speed of the earth will give a perpendicular Coriolis force, and that from the earth's point of view would seem as if the pendulum is changing its plane of rotation, whereas from an inertial frame, what we look at, the pendulum is oscillating in the same plane. However, the surface or the earth underneath the pendulum is actually changing its orientation, right? So with these two examples, now you can try to understand the behavior of a Foucault's pendulum, right, and try to understand the analysis.